Hi, I'm Joan with Leaves and Leashes, and I just want to welcome you back to the garden. Last time we touched base, I believe it was in November, when we were putting to bed our bananas and our colocasia and getting prepared just to take a break from gardening for the winter. So here we are, we're on the first week of May, and actually right now, looking at the weather forecast, we're still going to get some nights in the 40s. I am not quite confident that we won't hit freezing. I've seen a lot of frost in my roof over the last week, even though some of the days were not predicted to be frosty. I've done my buying, I've done my planning, and now I'm in a waiting phase. And while we wait, I'm out here in the garden just kind of enjoying things. And you know, you could really have your garden turn into a great wildlife spot. I have 2 ducks underneath my oak tree taking a break after having some corn and some water that I put out for them in the garden. My sparrows have inhabited the birdhouse inside my little alcove by my porch. The robins have made a nest on the garage and are busy feeding 4 babies. There's so much more in the garden to see than just flowers if you make it welcoming for a wildlife. So I just wanted to go ahead and share those wonderful things with you, and let's talk a little bit about the plants that I have staged out so we can watch them from day one and see how they progress throughout the summer. So let's talk about container number 1 here. My container number 1 is the closest to my house. It gets full sun all day, but towards the later afternoon, it gets a little bit more on the shady side. So I've made some decisions that will reflect that. And one is going to be starting off with the Coleus Gaze Delight. Gaze Delight is not particularly a newer Coleus, it's actually quite old, but I really like the pattern within in the chartreuse. I think it really is going to be very bright right outside my front window. To go ahead and pair that up and make my trailer, I've chosen the Black Heart because the Black Heart in the center of the foliage of the Gaze Delight is almost the same color, so we're going to have a great combination of calling the center of the container back to the trailers. Our step down in this particular design is going to be the Salvia Cathedral Deep Blue. I have not used this particular salvia, and I think it's going to be rather interesting. I kind of want to see how it's going to progress. A nice, more refined foliage. It's not as large as some of the other salvias, so I'm kind of excited to see this new one to me and how it's going to progress. And we're going to go ahead and team that up with the Edgerita Monarch Magic. You're going to hear that every one of my containers in my front of my house this year is going to have Edgerita Monarch Magic because, again, if you recall, I had 27 or more, I think 37 butterflies on one plant in one afternoon. So if I could get one container to bring all those butterflies in, I want to see what happens if I really plant a lot of it out in my containers and really draw those butterflies in, let them have that Edgerita Monarch Magic for some of their food, and then go back to my perennial garden and do their thing on our wonderful milkweed. So I'm going to move on to our next container now and tell you about the next design. So for our next container, I really do like orange and blue together. I think it really makes an outstanding striking color reflection as we go. So the other salvia I'm going to use, and why do I keep using salvia? I like to use salvia because of course it brings in my hummingbirds. The tried and true, the Mystic Spires, will be a gorgeous blue. One of my most favorite Coleuses, this one is called Campfire. There was a storm that came through and we got some hail damage, and that's where you can see some holes in my foliage. They will grow out of that because these are quite aggressive. I'm not particularly worried about it. So we're going to have blue with that orange, and I think it's going to be a nice tip-off. Again, we're going to use our Edgerita Monarch Magic to really make a great home for these awesome butterflies. And then we're going to slip in some yellow marigolds as well. I might actually do a little more shopping to tip off this container and complete it, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Waiting here on this particular container is the Salvia Lighthouse, and that's what I'm going to put into my in-ground bed. Lighthouse is super tall, super aggressive, and it really is so bright from the road. And again, a great attractant and great food source for all the hummingbirds. Let's check in on the next container to see what our next designs are. So in this particular pot, I have two sets of designs just waiting. Like I said, again, I'm not planting today, waiting for those night temperatures to warm up just a bit. So in keeping with my salvia, I'm really just loving salvia. Again, like I said, really feeds my hummingbirds. So this is one that I've never used before and I want to use this year. It's called Salvia's Wendy's Wish. This one is going to get quite tall, 24 to 36 inches. And as you can see by the tag, it's expected to have this beautiful bright pink look to it. I'm expecting this to kind of grow similarly maybe to, say, Plum's Crazy or some of the other different skyscrapers, but we're going to check this one out. You can see this one is in really full bud, and so I'm really going to be interested in watching this one particularly grow. As you can see, Wendy's Wish has a nice purple stem, so to go with that, I picked the Colocasia Volcanico Vino, and it's almost an exact match. So we have some nice green foliage with that kind of wine color with a chartreuse edge on the Vino. And so to complement that, I'm going to use one of our really cool old-fashioned sweet potatoes. This one is the Marguerite. It's a much more aggressive plant. She looks little now, don't you worry. She'll be touching the grass in no time as the temperatures heat up. And I'm also, again, going to use the Monarch Magic, like I said, keeping this pulled through and keeping our monarchs happy. The next container that is going to be planted, and this one actually I'm going to put in the back of the house, this is the Salvia Roman Red. It is going to be crazy gorgeous and big. I just love the way this grew last year and had to bring it on board again. The next coleus I'm going to use, again, she took a little hail damage in an early spring storm. This one is the Coleosaurus. It kind of has something reminiscent to dinosaur skin, so henceforth the name and the pattern with the chartreuse and the burgundy red foliage. And to kind of spice that up a little bit, I'm going to pair this with the Bandana Cherry Sunrise Lantana. I picked this one because, of course, the color shift with the red to yellow, which of course is going to complement the Coleosaurus and the flowers of the really cool Roman red salvia. And again, like I said, more of the Argyreia Monarch Magic, because I just want to see my property be a great monarch way station. So let's just keep those designs in mind. We'll be keeping you posted when I start to do the actual planting next week. We have some shade containers that we're going to get ready as well, and we'll share those with you next time. So again, I hope you like and subscribe and stay with us throughout the summer.